Okay. Today is Thursday, probably September 19th when you're watching this. This I'll be showing you this. I expect you to take the notes like we normally would in class. I will check them when I get back. I know I've got to do a couple note checks. I get that. But take notes just like you normally would. I will explain everything as I normally would. If you have any questions, write them down and we can come back on Friday and discuss everything. Okay? Let's get started. Now, we're talking about national and state powers. This is also really helping you understand federalism. Remember that dividing of power between state and local governments. There we go. It's not working. Imagine that. Okay. The powers. A review and beyond. Now, remember, the Constitution grants 3 types of powers. Expressed. These are clearly stated. You can do this. That's all you can do. All right? Implied. These are suggested, hinted. Okay? It's more open. Inherent. Easiest way to think about inherent powers just because they're the government, they have these powers. All right? Only the government has these powers. No, still not working. Express powers. These are primarily enumerated, meaning listed. They're in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 3, or Section 8, Clauses 1 through 17. They're listed. Congress can do this. The President has the power to do this. The Supreme Court has the power to do this. And if you remember, congressional powers, you'll find them in Article 1, you'll find some in Article 2, 3, 4, 5, and probably 6. You can argue that. So there's a lot of congressional powers. All right? They're not all in Article 1. Okay, specifically found in the Constitution. Primarily Articles 1 through 3. Primarily. All right? Whoop, sorry, I'm going to go back. I'll give you a second to copy these. If need be, the sub can stop the video. All right? All right, moving on. You got to move it. Here we go. Implied. They're not specifically listed, but they depend on the expressed powers. And this is really Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. This is sometimes called the necessary and proper clause. All right? Congress has the power to make all laws necessary and proper to carry out the foregoing powers. Here's how to think about it. Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 through 17, they are the enumerated powers. Think of them as what powers? This is what Congress can do. All right? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. Congress has the power to regulate trade among the several states. All right? That's what they can do. Regulate trade between states. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, that necessary and proper clause, Congress gets to decide how they're going to regulate trade between states. Maybe taxes. Maybe things won't be allowed to be traded between states. Things might be limited, but Congress decides how to use this power. So again, 1 through 17 are what powers, what they can do. Clause 18, how are they going to do it? All right? Give you another example. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. Congress has the power to levy and lay taxes. 18 lets them decide how they're going to tax you. Are they going to tax you on your income? Are they going to tax on imports? Are they going to tax you based on your property? How they're going to tax you. All right? Give you a section to write that out if you want. Okay, there we go. It's been a while since I've seen these notes. I'm sorry. But this clause has really expanded the government's power. All right? How they're going to decide to tax you. How they're going to regulate trade. How they're going to raise an army. How they're going to pay for the army. How they're going to create a post office. Things like that. Inherent. Again, just because. Just because they're the government, they get to use the power. For example, let me see here. Whoop. For example, immigration. Because they're the government, it's inherent that they get to use that power. Now, these are some also other types of powers, but really inherent, implied, and expressed, those are the big three. There are reserved powers. These are powers given back to the states or held back for the states. If I remember correctly, Article 1, Section 10. And then also you get the 9th and 10th Amendments in there. Okay? Basically, there's a phrase that says, hang on. It's the wife, she can call back later. Like the 9th Amendment, those powers not specifically granted to the federal government are hereby reserved to the states. That shows up in the Bill of Rights. So essentially, think of reserved powers. If it ain't in the Constitution, the states have power over it. Think about it. Marriage. Is that in the Constitution? No, it's not. Education. Not in the Constitution. Okay? That's reserved for the states. We'll give you a chance to copy that, catch up. All right, moving on. Oh, let me erase this. Again, supremacy clause, we've talked about it, beat it to death, you should learn it, live it, love it, need it, you want more of it. Hoorah! Remember, this is Article 6. I had to remember my Roman numerals, but Article 6. Here's another part of it though. States cannot use the reserved powers to interfere with the Constitution. For example, marijuana. States aren't supposed to use their powers to interfere with the constitutional powers. So the federal government has, remember, made marijuana illegal. Colorado has used their reserve powers, covering what's in the state, to interfere with that. They can't do that. Again, we've talked about it. Colorado has figured a way to tax it. The federal government's always interested in that. And B, we talked about how bad the government would look if they bust down the door of some poor grandma with brain tumors who needs to smoke a joint to relieve the pressure. We've talked about that. We know that. So again, local government is created by the state government. That's part of those reserved powers. And so they're a part of the state, they've got to follow the same rules. Toledo, in theory, cannot make marijuana legal. Why? We were created by the states, and the states have to follow the Constitution, so Toledo's got to follow the Constitution. It's just the way it works. Simple flow. Concurrent power, again, we've talked about this. Different levels can use. Best example, you need to learn to live it, love it, need it, you want more of it, taxes. Again, you look at your federal or your paycheck if you've got a job, federal income tax, state income tax, local income tax. All three levels of government have the power to do that. Give you a chance to copy that, catch up. And a denied power. This is a power that the government cannot use. If you've got your constitutions out, fine. Article 1, Section 9. Those are the denied powers. Congress can't do that. For example, you read there, I think it's Clause 1, Congress shall pass no bills of attainder. Basically that means Congress can't pass a law that says you're guilty of a crime. That's a bill of attainder. They can't do that. Now, again, with federalism, it's a two-way street. The government, the states and local government do a lot of things for the federal government. We help enforce federal laws. Welfare, Medicaid is given to the states and the states distribute it. All right? So there's a lot of things that we do for the government at the local level. Education funds. All right? The government gives us or gives Toledo Public Schools a big old chunk of money. It's up to TPS to decide how to use that. Now, what do the feds do for us? They provide a Republican form of government, meaning we get to elect our representatives, representative government. Now, this is enforced by Congress. And how do they do this? Well, they allow the representatives and senators to take their seats. Let me see here. I'm going to get to this and I'll let you catch up. So, we're going to watch a movie, hopefully, called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And Mr. Smith gets sworn into Congress. Well, pretty soon they say, well, we got to kick him out. So they allow representatives and senators to take their seats. For example, this is the best and probably biggest example. After the Civil War had ended, Congress refused to allow those southern states to take their seats until they took an oath of loyalty to the United States Constitution. All right? If they didn't take it, they didn't get sworn in. They couldn't take their seat. In fact, I think it was Mississippi, for about a year, they refused to take that oath of support. So Mississippi didn't have anybody in Congress. Whoop. Give you a chance to catch up there. Whoop. All right. The feds must protect the states from attack. And now again, he has the authority to send troops if there's a problem in the country. If you think back, this is the exact opposite of Shays' Rebellion. Congress didn't have any power to do that. And the president doesn't even have to ask when there's federal laws or responsibilities involved. Whoop. Okay. I'm going to pause right there. I see my battery's getting low on my camera, so I'm going to try to get as far as I can before the camera dies. Territorial integrity. They respect the state borders. Okay? They cannot make a new state without permission from that state. Now, the power is held by Congress, but it's limited. Again, this is all part of that concept of federalism and limited government. So again, they can't use existing states. The president can veto their admission. And once the state is admitted, it's equal to all the others. It's not like Delaware goes, well, I was the first state to admit the Constitution, so I'm the oldest and I'm the best. No. Delaware, which is the first state, is equal to Hawaii and Alaska, which were the last two states. They're bound to support the Constitution. All right? We're going to skip through procedure. I really don't want, you don't need to know that too much. An exception to the rule. West Virginia. During the Civil War, people in that area wanted to break away. So the government said, hey, you're representing Virginia, you're giving us permission, we'll make you your own state. So they said the minority was acting as the Virginia legislature and gave permission. Texas. They were already an independent country. Joint resolution of Congress admitted them in. And Alaska and Hawaii, they created a constitution without permission, and they just got admitted. Now there's some things that the states have to do. The big one, conduct and pay for national elections. You notice, presidential elections, it's here around here. They pay for those elections. The states can set the time, places, and manner for the election of Congress. You know, if you've ever voted or seen somebody vote, they've got those little computer tablets that they do it on. Congress can alter it. They help amend the Constitution. Now, federalism divides power. There should be an S there. I get that. There are going to be disputes. And I'm looking, I've got 9 minutes left to get through all of this. The Supreme Court gets involved in this. Remember, under the Articles, there was no Supreme Court to settle disputes. Congress did. McCulloch v. Maryland. This really helps the necessary and proper clause. When state laws conflict with federal, the federal law wins. There's an actual case about this. I'm going to have to tell you the story on it. That's the story for another day. Because my battery's running out, I want you to get these notes. And so, after McCulloch, really, really strong federal government, national government. As time has gone on, the states have gotten more power. And again, judicial review. They can review the actions of state and local governments as well. There we go. We're done. I think, do we have time? I'm going to stop it for right now.